Hey, what's up guys? So in this video I wanted to take a look at theoretically what would be the ultimate radar detector. If we were to take, all of the best features from all the best detectors on the market and smush them into one detector, what would it look like to have that one ultimate detector that would basically say it's probably going to be expensive, but it does everything amazingly, and then we wouldn't need any of these other detectors. Let's just get this one detector. What would that look like? Now, obviously that's going to be very tough to do. You've got some technical challenges, like let's say, it would have perfect BSM filtering, right? Obviously easier said than done. There's a reason that nobody's accomplished that yet, but in our ideal world, a perfect detector would have perfect BSM filtering. There also may be some legal challenges to do maybe automatic GPS lockouts built into the detector. There's some patent and licensing issues, which is one of the reasons why not every manufacturer can do that. And so there's some realistic and practical limitations to actually doing it, but let's just kind of dream a little bit and say, what would that detector look like? So if we were to basically take a look at some of the very best detectors on the market, and they all have something that the other ones don't, let's see. So if we were to start with the R3, obviously it's got to have really good long-range performance, right? Crazy range, because you got to have that. GPS, yeah, we'll want the GPS lockouts. Let's do the lockouts, automatic, like this. This detector, it doesn't have arrows, so let's add arrows, of course. We're going to want that. Uniden does a really good job as far as their updates. So, bug fixes, our ideal detector wouldn't have any bugs and it would have new features constantly being added. That would be cool. Really good customer support and reliability. Complete RDD immunity. The Redline and like the MaxCI 360, those seem to be some of the very best in terms of being totally stealth. So we'd want that level of undetectability. I like the mount here on the Max 360C. It's a little bit confusing at first and it can fall off if you're not using it right, but it's really easy to use and mount and unmount. I'd love a detector where when you mount it, the power connections are actually built into the detector itself, so you don't have to have a power cable here. So you mount the detector on the mount and there's also power connectors and boom, the detector fires up. That would be really cool too. I like the Bluetooth functionality here to make it easier to configure the detector, get kind of the Escort Live style alerts. Maybe if that could be integrated with Waze to give us a larger user base, I think that could be really cool. The Wi-Fi updates, I was doing it the other day, and it's kind of nice to have the detector automatically be able to update itself, so you don't have to bring it back home and plug it into your computer. If there is update software, it's got to be compatible with both Windows and Mac. With the V1, I think the main thing that I like here is the arrows are really good. They're kind of the benchmark in terms of doing awesome arrows because they've been doing it for like, 3 decades or something crazy like that, I love the Bluetooth capabilities, the API that they built into the detector. Put the Bluetooth into the detector the way that the Max 360C has done, but then actually open up an API for other third-party developers to develop apps for the detector. They've done amazing stuff here with the V1. I think it's actually one of the best decisions that Mike Valentine has done is to open up third-party app development for his detector, and it's implemented a lot of really cool stuff. So I would definitely like to see a third-party Bluetooth API available for developers to create apps for. And then the Redenso Pro M, I don't really like the barrel connector. I would want it to have the RJ11 connector, which is kind of the standard, but I really do like the MRCD filtering that's here. It does better MRCD detection than like the Redline EX does, for example. It's also got better filtering with the MRCD than the Redline EX does, and it also has like a cool, kind of like a ramp up for MRCD instead of just a full tilt alert. And so, of course, for the sake of future-proofness, we'd want to be able to detect all the current radar guns and also the newer stuff that's starting to show up, and it's kind of in other countries, and it seems to slowly be trickling into the United States and is also up here in Canada as well. So if I were to think about, the ultimate detector, it would kind of be something along those lines, like the best of everything all into one detector. I'm sure there's other stuff we could talk about too, like having awesome laser sensitivity and no laser falsing. I like the idea of having an ambient light sensor instead of doing stuff with the GPS chip in here. That way the detector can automatically, sense daytime or nighttime and adjust the brightness accordingly. I noticed with the Max 360C, it tends to be a little bit dark, so I would like it to actually maybe be a better fit if we could tune that to a certain extent. That would be kind of cool. I like the way the GPS lockouts are handled here with the V1. There's some cool stuff, some additional safety mechanisms built in to help avoid the risk of, potentially locking out a police officer. The way it, looks at each signal individually, even if it's in a similar location and a similar frequency, it'll still treat it as a different signal instead of having one lockout that covers all frequencies, no matter how many they are in this area. So it takes a little bit longer to lock out, but it's a more sophisticated, and in my opinion, I believe it's a superior implementation of lockouts. It may be a little bit noisier, especially in the beginning, but I think that's a really cool feature. I like the automatic speed-based sensitivity adjustments so that, and maybe highway, it gives you full sensitivity. In the city, maybe the ability to dial back the sensitivity and have that be automated as well. I like the idea of the speed limit information being available here. People ask about, could it be done with a firmware update? In order to have a massive speed limit database built into the detector, I mean, you're gonna have to have pretty much not just the GPS points of where the limits are, but also a whole map of the entire United States and how that's all done. And so you could do it with the firmware update, but it would be a massive file, and usually detectors don't have enough memory for that. So it's typically easier to do that, if your detector is connected to the internet. That's how JBV1 does it, that's how Escort Live does it. So that would be a cool feature as well, and that's most likely how that would be implemented. I mean, there's so many cool little things like that. Let me know what you guys think as far as like what kind of stuff have I maybe left out and I haven't talked about that you guys would be like, man, that would be an awesome feature. I would love, this detector that you're describing, but maybe I don't need a feature that you described, or there's something really important that I left out. Let me know. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to do a little video, maybe thinking aloud as far as like, if we were to have the ultimate radar detector, what would that look like? And maybe another thing would also be like, who would implement that? Is it going to be Uniden with their updates and this package here? Are they going to add arrows and Bluetooth and a third-party Bluetooth API? Is it going to be Escort doing the auto lockouts, at least for a few more years until that patent expires? They already have Escort Live. They could maybe look back into Waze integration. I believe that was taken away by Google. Is it going to be Valentine? There's patents for the new V1, but they're slow as molasses, is actually getting that implemented and made available. Is it going to be Redenso? They're really big on developing the ultimate detector, and it could be them. They've already got the MRCD stuff taken care of. There's other companies who are working on MRCD, but they don't do it as well as Redenso. And so, I kind of wonder who would be the most likely manufacturer to actually develop this. I guess there's arguments to be made for any one of these, and no matter who it is, I would love to see that detector. So for any of you radar detector manufacturers listening, here's kind of my wish list. I've probably forgotten some stuff. Not sitting here with like a notepad or anything, with stuff, but just kind of thinking aloud, that's kind of my ideas as far as how all this stuff would be done. I mean, there's other things too, like we talked about the speed limit. It would be nice if it somehow could sense, school zones or construction zones. Maybe if there was a camera, and I know some self-driving cars have cameras built in so they can see the speed limit and display that on screen by actually looking at the speed limit signs on the side of the road. That could be cool. Maybe that would be a more sophisticated way of doing it. I don't know. So, I mean, there's all sorts of things we could talk about, and this is just windshield mount detectors. We haven't even gotten into remote mount detectors, which are also great, and that is a great option for people too, but that's a whole nother can of worms. So anyway, I just wanted to do a video kind of going over what I envision as the ultimate radar detector, and something that would make it really easy for me, for when you guys say, what's the best detector? I can just say the blah. Yes, it probably costs like $1,500 or some insane amount, whatever. But like if somebody were to build it, that would be amazing. So anyway, that's kind of my thoughts as far as the ultimate radar detector and what that would look like. I mean, I guess one other thing would be like, I was thinking for the automatic speed-based sensitivity, I like how Uniden does kind of their city mode as opposed to Escort's auto mode. And what I mean is like, if you dial back the sensitivity of the detector, the Uniden, if you're running it at, let's say, city mode or 70%, sensitivity, something like that, when it detects, it'll filter out a weak signal, but then when the signal gets stronger, it'll start alerting you with the weak signal and gradually ramp up. So you still get that ramp up from weak to strong. Escort will do it a little bit differently. If it's filtering out a weak signal, it'll basically filter out the signal when it's weak, and then when the signal is strong, it'll alert with the strong sensitivity. So what happens is you get silence, 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 bah! Whereas here you get silence, silence, weak, and gradually building up to strong. So it's less panic inducing, less brake stomping, I think the having a good ramp up like that is really key as well. It's not just about dialing back the sensitivity, it's also about alert presentation. So that's really key as well. I mean, the V1 is got a fantastic ramp up. I love how many little dots it has here for giving you really precise information about the signal strength and how that varies. They do a better job than Redenso, etc. So, there's pros and cons to everything. And anyway, yeah, I'm just thinking aloud as far as some of the things that I personally would love to see in a detector, and I'm also really curious to see what you guys would think. And maybe how much would you guys pay for a detector like this? Would $1,000 be reasonable? Is that too expensive? Even though it would be the ultimate detector, is $1,000 too expensive to invest in a windshield mount detector? People are paying $700 for this. People are a lot happier paying $400 for this. $1,000 for the ultimate detector? I don't know. So anyway, just thinking aloud, and yeah, let me know what you guys think too. So awesome. Thanks for watching, and cool. Happy driving, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.